Hello all, and welcome to Penn State Sports Night's coverage of the Four Nations Face-Off. I'm your host, Jacob Gold. Joining me tonight are Dan Studer and Jack Danetz. The Four Nations puck drop was Wednesday of last week, and we have lots to cover. Let's dive right in, starting with the first matchup of the tournament, the overtime thriller between Canada and Sweden. Dan, I'll start with you. How'd this game go?
Yeah, Jacob, as you mentioned, this is a great way for the Four Nations to start, especially kicking off that round robin. Canada jumps out to a 3-1 lead through the first two periods. We see a power play goal from that top line of Connor McDavid, Nathan MacKinnon, and Sidney Crosby. But in the third period, guys, is when stuff really started to fall apart for the goaltender Jordan Binnington and the rest of the defense. Adrian Kempe just kind of walks in right from the top of the face-off circle, and he fires a shot through two defensemen. Really uncontested. I'm not exactly sure why the save wasn't made there. And then later, the goal that sends it to overtime, Jesper Bratt from the right of Binnington gets Binnington to bite, having him commit to the shot, but instead he goes across crease pass to Joel Eriksson Ek, who buries it, makes it 3-3, and all of a sudden, we're going to overtime. Then in overtime, really good, lots of back and forth action. We almost see Mika Zibanejad net the game winner for Sweden, which would have really kicked off this tournament with some really, really fun excitement, if I do say so myself. But instead, it's Mitch Marner. And guys, it's probably got to be weird to see all those Canadian fans in the Bell Centre, home of the Montreal Canadiens, cheering on the Toronto Maple Leaf.
Yeah, Dan, I couldn't agree with you more. A truly exciting finish, I mean, really, from that game. It was, this new tournament style taking place the All-Star game. Really, really cool stuff. And so we turn our attention to the United States and Finland's first looks. So, Jack, this game wasn't as close, but what'd you see?
Well, gentlemen, let me just start by saying this, free bird. But anyway, getting to this game, like you said, it wasn't as exciting as the few games we're going to be talking to next. But the USA came in, made a statement. What a night for the Chuck brothers as well. 2 goals, and Hellebuck as well. Defensively, only went one goal in. That just stays his statement. He's the best goalie in the world. But overall, great game by USA, and let's see what happens down the line against Canada on Thursday.
Absolutely. It was a Kachuk night in Montreal and, a proper rout of the Suomi while USA bumps to Freebird. The next matchup from this replacement of the All-Star game was the two losers from the first matchups, Sweden and Finland. So, I'll let you guys take this one.
Yeah, I mean, this was a little bit of a wacky game. Another one where Sweden, unfortunately, they drop another one in overtime. Not exactly the start that they would have liked. Jack, you had mentioned a lot of this, maybe the unfortunate luck that Sweden has faced, maybe wouldn't have happened if they would have had the goaltender that they should have had in Jacob Markstrom.
Again, yes, like Jacob Markstrom. Jacob Markstrom has been talking about Jacob Markstrom, he's been a huge impact for the Devils this season. And overall, without him, I think if he was back in goal, I think it would have made a difference, especially over Sweden. But Finland overall looked great this game, and let's see what happens. It's unfortunate with Sweden, a good amount of talent on the team, but overall, Finland came in, showed who's boss, and that's that.
Seriously. Sweden. Pretty sweet jerseys, too. I like the crowns. But speaking of big games, the USA looks to Boston, where they will face Canada for the championship on Thursday. These two teams met on Saturday in Montreal. Dan, why don't you tell us about this barn burner?
Yeah, well, of course. United States, Canada. It's a matchup that everybody loves, right? I got 2 words to describe this game. Ding, ding. 3 fights, 9 seconds. And talk about plans making it out of the group chat. For those who didn't know, reports came out after that game that the Kachuk brothers threw JT Miller in a group chat, and they each talked about how early they were going to throw the fisticuffs in the game. And of course, I believe it was Dylan Larkin from the Detroit Red Wings who nets the game winner. But of course, if it weren't for the intercepted pass from Matt Boldy, was it, if I'm correct?
It was Matt Boldy.
Matt Boldy, thank you.
Mm-hmm. But yes, going back to USA Canada, I mean, what a night. What a night. I mean, without Quinn Hughes on defense, I think this is a huge thing, in my opinion.
Yep.
Without Quinn Hughes on defense, USA's defense managed to stop the speed of McDavid and the skill of both Crosby and MacKinnon. And as well, let's talk about those 2 goals from Gensel. He was a huge factor in last night. The tie the game, 1-1, and the empty netter. So overall, what a game. I think let's see what happens on the rematch.
And of course, Jacob, this was the United States' first time beating Canada at this level since the 2010 Olympic round robin. And of course, we all know how that ended. So of course, we'll have to see if we get a repeat.
Also, fun fact, this is Crosby's first game losing. He's now 26-1.
Wow. That is incredible. I mean, with USA flying high in this battle of heavyweights, what I've noticed is America currently looks like they have the title of hockey country, if we can say that. Based on the World Juniors and now the 4 nations. However, this exhilarating tournament is not over yet. Still more to come on Thursday for an exciting matchup. And, USA, Canada, what more could you ask for? And in the end, we should take a step back and have some fun with this tournament while it still lasts. Without one more second wasted, our first game tonight that I've prepared will be rapid fire reactions. And this is a game where I will say a term to our analysts, and they will have around 10 seconds to respond with the first word that comes to their mind as pertains to the 4 nations face-off. Jack, are you ready?
Yes.
Dan, how about you?
Yes, sir.
All right, here we go. With our first word, we have snipe.
Gensel.
Dylan Larkin.
All right, be quick. Duster.
Chris Kreider.
Adam Fox.
Okay, all right. Sweater.
United States.
United States as well.
You guys really do like those ones. More of a Canadian guy myself. Gino.
Probably Gustafson.
I'm going to go with Evgeny Malkin, considering the fact that Russia's not playing in the 4 nations.
Swiss cheese.
Philip Gustafsson.
I'd go with that as well.
6 goals against the United States.
Incredible. I mean, very, very interesting takes. Now, let's move on to our next segment where we go, let's say that you 2 are the coaches. Imagine you guys are in charge of some of the best players in the world. You guys are in charge of that line of McKinnon, McDavid, and Crosby. And what would you do against a star-studded USA team?
Sometimes it's not always about having the best players. Sometimes it's about having the players that know how to play well together. But in this case, you get the best of both worlds. I can't think enough about that top power play unit line of Nathan McKinnon, Connor McDavid, and Sidney Crosby. Anytime that you can get the 2 of them to play together, you play them as much as you can.
Seriously.
I know that most hockey teams are built strength-wise from your 3rd line and your 4th line. We see that all the time in the NHL. And I'm not saying that Team Canada doesn't have a good 3rd and 4th line. But when you have that first line and you want to put offensive pressure and you want to score goals, that's the line that you need to have as much as you can.
I agree.
I fully agree with Dan. Again, it's not always about having the best players, but it's also, let's look at the line of Team Canada. I mean, McKinnon, Crosby, and McDavid in the same sentence should be illegal. I mean, when I first saw that, I'm like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
But if you have those players, and if you take a look at the USA's defense, as long as you play around that defense, they should be fine.
I completely agree. And all right, those are some pretty good takes, and I agree with that. Some of the coaches early on, and I wasn't sure how this tournament was going to play out early in the tournament with some of these teams giving up goals and kind of not trying a little bit, but it's shaped up to be a really good tournament. We have one more game coming up, which will be hot takes and cold truths. So I will say a phrase, and you guys will be determining whether it is a hot take or a cold truth. First phrase is, will Team USA win it all in glorious fashion?
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to say that can be a hot take.
Okay.
I don't think Canada played as well as they probably could have against the United States. We know what this team can possibly do. We've seen it before. And like I mentioned, we know what's happened the last time that these 2 teams have played for a gold medal championship winning. We saw that in the 2010 Olympics, and of course with Sidney Crosby and his golden goal. This isn't the World Juniors. Clearly the United States seems to have the upper hand on the junior level, but on the professional level, Canada has that upper hand. I'm going to say that they pull some stuff out of the bag that they didn't have in the last time that these 2 teams met.
How about you, Jack?
Again, like Dan said, we haven't seen Canada play how they actually should be playing, in my opinion. But and going into it, yes, we have the defense, and yes, we've been looking good, but also, can Canada come back and make it a close game come Thursday? Because listen, I'd love to see a good close game at the championship in TD Garden.
I love that. That's great. And, you know, I agree. And I think it's also a pretty hot take that USA is just going to stroll in there and take it all. All right. And I think that's all. I think that's going to do it for us here at Penn State Sports Night. For Dan Studer and Jack Danetz, that was fun. I'm Jacob Gold signing off.
Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to this edition of Penn State Sports Night.
For more content like this and so much more, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and X. For everyone here at Penn State Sports Night,
We are
Penn State Sports.